She had a choice that millions dream of. Love that asked for nothing. And money that promised everything. She laughed at the poor man who loved her with honesty. She believed security was more important than sincerity. So she chose wealth, and walked away from love without looking back. Years later, she stood in a mansion filled with gold and silence, sleeping beside a man who provided everything, except peace. Then fate did something cruel. The man she once left for being poor returned, not to beg, not to accuse, but as someone complete, successful, and untouchable by regret. And in that moment, she realized the truth that came too late. Some choices don't punish you immediately. They reward you first, then slowly take everything that matters. This is not a story about money or love. It's about the cost of choosing comfort over connection, and the regret that follows when the heart finally speaks. Watch till the end, because not every mistake can be fixed, and not every love waits forever. In the quiet town of Lusaka Heights, where dusty roads met ambitious dreams, lived a young woman named Amara Ndlovu. She was known for her beauty, her sharp mind, and most of all, her hunger for a better life. Amara had grown up watching her mother count coins before buying food, listening to neighbors whisper about unpaid bills, and feeling the silent shame that poverty wrapped around a family like an invisible chain. From a very young age, she promised herself one thing with fierce certainty: she would never live a life where money decided her worth. It was during her final year at a modest local college that Amara met Malik Dubé. Malik was everything her world was not: simple, calm, and content with little. He came from a humble background, working part-time jobs to support his education, often arriving at class with tired eyes but a determined smile. He believed in effort, patience, and honesty, values shaped by struggle rather than privilege. While others admired Amara's beauty from afar, Malik spoke to her like she was human, not a prize to be won. Their conversations began with shared notes and casual laughter, slowly deepening into something warmer, something sincere. Malik loved Amara quietly but completely. He listened to her dreams without mocking them, encouraged her ambitions without feeling threatened, and reassured her on days when self-doubt crept in. He didn't have expensive gifts to offer, but he gave her time, loyalty, and an unshakable belief in her potential. For a while, Amara felt safe with him. With Malik, she was not the poor girl desperate to escape her past, she was simply Amara. Yet beneath her smiles and affection, a conflict brewed inside her heart. As graduation approached, reality pressed closer. Her friends spoke excitedly about wealthy suitors, corporate connections, and opportunities abroad. Social media painted glamorous pictures of luxury lives, designer clothes, high-rise apartments, effortless success. Amara began to look at Malik differently, not through the lens of love, but through the harsh light of comparison. His worn shoes, his careful budgeting, his uncertain future, all things she had once overlooked, now felt heavy, limiting. The turning point came when Victor Kanyama entered her life. Victor was everything Malik was not: rich, confident, and influential. He arrived in a sleek car, dressed in tailored suits, and spoke of investments, travel, and power as if they were ordinary things. He noticed Amara instantly, not for who she was, but for how well she would fit into his world. His attention was intoxicating. He took her to places she had only seen in magazines, introduced her to people whose names carried weight, and promised her a future free from financial fear. Slowly, Amara began to measure her life in possibilities instead of emotions. With Malik, the future was uncertain but honest. With Victor, it was secure but cold. Her heart leaned one way, her fears pulled her another. Every time Malik spoke of building a life together step by step, Amara heard echoes of her childhood struggles. Every time Victor spoke of comfort and status, she saw escape. Malik sensed the distance growing between them. He noticed her distracted eyes, her delayed replies, her sudden interest in things that once didn't matter. One evening, sitting beneath a fading sunset, he asked her gently if something had changed. Amara avoided his gaze, unable, or unwilling, to speak the truth. Silence stretched between them, heavy and painful. Malik did not accuse her. He only said, softly, that he hoped she would never choose fear over love. But fear had already planted its roots. When Victor proposed, promising marriage, wealth, and a life of ease, Amara said yes, not with joy, but with relief. She told herself that love could grow later, that security mattered more than feelings, that Malik would understand. When she finally told Malik of her decision, her words were careful, rehearsed, and crueler than she intended. She spoke of practicality, of future stability, of how love alone was not enough. Malik listened in silence, his face unreadable, his heart breaking quietly. That night, as Amara walked away from him, she believed she was walking toward freedom. She did not know she was also walking away from the only love that would ever choose her without conditions. Fate watched silently, patient and unforgiving, waiting for the day it would remind her of the true cost of the choice she had just made. Marriage changed Amara's life overnight, but not in the way she had imagined during her restless, ambitious nights. Victor Kanyama's world was polished, structured, and suffocating. Their wedding was grand, attended by influential guests, expensive cameras, and rehearsed smiles. Amara wore designer clothes and diamonds that reflected light brilliantly, yet inside her, something felt dim. She told herself this was just the adjustment period, that happiness would follow once she settled into this new life of comfort. Victor was not a cruel man, but he was not a warm one either. He believed love was shown through provision, not presence. He measured success in profits, not emotions. Conversations at home revolved around business deals, social status, and expectations. Amara soon realized that her opinions mattered only when they aligned with Victor's plans. Her dreams were tolerated, not supported. She had exchanged uncertainty for security, but in doing so, she had lost her voice. The house they lived in was large and quiet, too quiet. Rooms echoed with footsteps instead of laughter. Amara spent her days surrounded by luxury yet haunted by loneliness. At social gatherings, she smiled politely while Victor discussed investments with men who barely noticed her presence. Women admired her lifestyle, whispered about her luck, and envied her marriage, unaware of how empty she felt when the doors closed at night. Meanwhile, Malik Dubey disappeared from her life without drama or bitterness. He did not beg her to stay, nor did he curse her choice. He simply walked away, carrying his heartbreak with dignity. Amara heard rumors about him from time to time, that he had left the town, that he was working somewhere far away, that he had changed. Each mention stirred something uneasy inside her, but she pushed it down, reminding herself that she had chosen wisely. Years passed. On the surface, Amara's life looked perfect. She traveled, attended elite events and lived without financial worry, but slowly cracks began to appear. Victor grew more distant, more controlling. His success made him arrogant and his patience thin. Arguments became frequent, often ending with silence rather than resolution. Amara learned to choose her words carefully, to shrink herself to keep the peace. She had money, but no emotional safety. She had status, but no comfort. One evening, after a particularly cold argument, Amara sat alone in her bedroom and found herself thinking of Malik for the first time in years, not as a regret, but as a memory of peace. She remembered how he listened, how he laughed easily, how he made her feel seen even when he had nothing to offer but sincerity. The thought unsettled her. She quickly dismissed it, telling herself that nostalgia was a weakness. Fate, however, had not forgotten her choice. Victor's business empire, built on risky decisions and unchecked confidence, began to tremble. A major investment failed. Then another. Whispers replaced praise. Allies turned distant. Stress consumed Victor, and his temper worsened. The man who once promised stability now brought uncertainty into their home. Amara watched helplessly as the security she had chosen over love began to collapse. As financial pressure mounted, Victor changed. He blamed Amara for distractions, for not being supportive enough, for not fitting perfectly into his vision. The love she hoped would grow never did. Instead, resentment filled the space where affection should have been. Amara realized with painful clarity that money could not protect her from loneliness, nor could it buy respect within a broken marriage. One afternoon, while attending a charity event she barely wanted to be at, Amara noticed a familiar name on a sponsorship banner. Her heart skipped. Malik Dubey. The name felt unreal, like a ghost from a past life. She stood frozen, staring at it, her mind racing with questions she wasn't ready to answer. Could it be the same Malik, the poor man she once walked away from? That night, sleep escaped her. Memories flooded back with unexpected force. She wondered who Malik had become, what life had shaped him into, and whether he still remembered her the way she remembered him. For the first time since her marriage, Amara allowed herself to question everything she had believed about success, love, and sacrifice. The next day, she learned the truth. Malik Dubey was no longer the struggling student from Lusaka Heights. He was now a respected figure, known for his integrity, resilience, and achievements. He had built something meaningful from nothing, without shortcuts or arrogance. The irony struck her deeply. The man she left for being poor had become rich in every way that mattered, while she, surrounded by wealth, felt impoverished inside. Amara felt a heavy realization settle in her chest. Fate was not finished with her yet. The choices she made years ago were returning, not to punish her immediately, but to remind her of what she had traded for comfort. She sensed that a confrontation, emotional, inevitable, and life-altering, was approaching. And somewhere beyond her controlled, luxurious world, Malik Dubé was living proof that choosing love and patience over fear could shape a destiny stronger than money ever could. Amara could no longer ignore the name that had resurfaced in her life like an unanswered question. Malik Dubé. It echoed in her thoughts during quiet mornings and restless nights, unsettling the carefully built structure of her world. The more she tried to push it away, the louder it became, reminding her that the past never truly disappears, it only waits for the right moment to return. The charity event where she had first seen Malik's name turned out to be the beginning of a slow unraveling. News articles spoke of his journey with admiration, how he had started from nothing, worked tirelessly, and built a respected organization focused on ethical investments and community development. His success was not loud or arrogant. It was steady, intentional, and deeply rooted in values Amara once recognized all too well. Reading about him felt like reopening a wound she had carefully stitched shut years ago. Victor noticed the change in her. He noticed her distracted silences, her sudden lack of enthusiasm for social gatherings, and the way she seemed lost in thought more often than before. One evening, as they sat across from each other at a long dining table, he asked sharply if something was wrong. Amara replied that she was tired. It was not a lie, but it was not the truth either. She was tired of pretending that wealth had filled the emptiness love once occupied. As Victor's business troubles grew more visible, his frustration hardened into bitterness. He became critical, impatient, and emotionally distant. Every failure outside the house echoed loudly within it. Amara found herself walking on emotional glass, choosing silence over honesty, just as she had once chosen money over love. The realization stung. She had repeated the same pattern, only this time the cost felt heavier. Fate tightened its grip when Amara received an official invitation to a business conference. Malik Dubé was listed as one of the keynote speakers. The event promised discussions on sustainable growth and ethical leadership, concepts that felt painfully ironic to her now. She considered declining the invitation, fearing the storm of emotions a reunion might bring. But something deeper, perhaps guilt, perhaps unfinished closure, pushed her to attend. The day of the conference arrived. The hall buzzed with energy, filled with professionals eager to listen, learn, and network. When Malik stepped onto the stage, the room fell into respectful silence. He looked different, yet familiar. His posture was confident but humble, his voice calm and deliberate. As he spoke about resilience, about failure as a teacher rather than an enemy, Amara felt tears sting her eyes. She remembered the man who once spoke similar words under a fading sunset, long before success had validated them. Their eyes met briefly across the crowded hall. Malik recognized her instantly. There was no shock in his expression, no bitterness, only a quiet acknowledgement. That neutrality cut deeper than anger ever could. Amara realized then that she no longer occupied the same place in his life that he still occupied in hers. After the conference, fate offered no escape. A mutual acquaintance introduced them, as if they were strangers meeting for the first time. Malik greeted her politely, professionally. He asked how she was, how life had treated her. Amara struggled to respond. How could she explain a life that looked full but felt hollow? She congratulated him on his success, her voice trembling despite her effort to remain composed. Malik thanked her simply. He spoke briefly about his work, his passion for creating opportunities for others. He did not mention the past. Not once. The absence of accusation was a quiet punishment, forcing Amara to confront her regret without the relief of blame. That night, alone in her room, Amara broke down for the first time in years. She cried not just for Malik, but for herself, for the girl who had mistaken security for happiness, and ambition for fulfillment. She realized that love, when abandoned, does not disappear, it transforms into regret, patient and persistent. Meanwhile, Malik walked away from the encounter with mixed emotions of his own. Seeing Amara again stirred memories he thought he had outgrown. But he also felt gratitude, for the pain that had shaped him, for the choice that had forced him to rise. He had forgiven her long ago, not for her sake, but for his own peace. Two lives, once deeply intertwined, now moved in parallel lines, close enough to see each other clearly, yet separated by choices that could not be undone. Fate had brought them together again, not to reunite them, but to teach a lesson neither could ignore. And as the distance between who Amara was and who she wished she had been grew clearer, she understood something terrifyingly simple. Some doors closed not because we were unworthy, but because we chose another path, and the cost of that choice echoes long after the decision is made. After the conference, Amara's life refused to return to its carefully maintained routine. Malik's presence, brief yet powerful, had reopened wounds she thought were long healed. His calm demeanor haunted her more than anger ever could. He had moved on, grown beyond the version of himself she once dismissed, while she remained trapped inside a life built on appearances rather than authenticity. Every quiet moment reminded her of that truth. Victor, on the other hand, continued to unravel. Financial losses piled up, and with them came suspicion and resentment. His conversations turned sharp, often ending in blame rather than dialogue. Amara became the silent witness to his frustration, absorbing emotions she was never meant to carry. The marriage that once promised safety now felt like a cage, beautiful from the outside, suffocating within. She realized too late that love withheld leaves a deeper scar than love lost. One evening, Victor accused her of emotional distance, his voice heavy with irritation. Amara listened, unusually calm. For the first time, she did not apologize. She did not explain. She simply realized that she had been emotionally absent long before this moment, not because she didn't care, but because she had never truly belonged in this life. The argument ended without resolution, leaving behind a silence that felt final. Days later, Amara received unexpected news. Malik's organization was partnering with a foundation Victor desperately needed support from. The irony was cruel. Fate, once patient, now stood unapologetically in front of her. Business meetings brought Malik and Victor into the same space, and Amara found herself watching two versions of success collide. Victor relied on dominance and influence. Malik relied on credibility and trust. The contrast was undeniable. During one such meeting, Victor attempted to assert control, dismissing ethical concerns in favor of quick recovery. Malik listened patiently, then responded firmly, emphasizing responsibility over shortcuts. His authority was quiet but unyielding. The room followed his lead. Victor noticed. So did Amara. In that moment, she understood the true nature of power, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. After the meeting, Amara found Malik standing alone near a window. She approached hesitantly, her heart heavy with unspoken words. She wanted to apologize again, to explain her fear, her youth, her mistakes. But as she opened her mouth, she realized that explanations would change nothing. Instead, she thanked him, for his integrity, for his example, for the way he had turned pain into purpose. Malik nodded, understanding more than she said. He told her gently that he no longer measured his life by what he lost, but by what he built. He had learned that self-worth was not something another person could validate or destroy. His peace did not depend on her regret. Those words, spoken without bitterness, were both comforting and devastating. That night, Amara made a decision she had avoided for years. She confronted the truth she could no longer deny. She had chosen money over love, security over sincerity, and now she was paying the price, not through punishment, but through awareness. The life she lived no longer aligned with the woman she had become. Staying would mean continuing a lie. As dawn approached, Amara stood by the window of her mansion, watching the sky shift from darkness to light. For the first time in years, she felt clarity instead of fear. She did not know what her future would look like, but she knew she could no longer live a life that silenced her heart. Fate had not brought Malik back to reclaim her, it had brought him back to show her what she had lost and what she still might save within herself. The cost of her choice had become undeniable. And now, standing at the edge of change, Amara faced the most difficult decision of her life, not between love and money, but between comfort and truth. Amara did not leave her marriage in a dramatic moment. There were no shouting matches, no public scandals, no tears meant for an audience. Her decision unfolded quietly, like a truth she could no longer deny. When she finally told Victor that she was leaving, her voice was calm, steady, and tired. Victor reacted with disbelief first, then anger, then cold dismissal. He reminded her of everything he had given her: wealth, status, security. Amara listened silently, understanding at last that none of those things were love. Walking away from the mansion felt surreal. The same walls that once symbolized success now felt like a reminder of years spent silencing her own heart. She did not know what awaited her beyond that gate, only that staying would mean losing herself completely. For the first time in her life, she chose uncertainty, not out of fear, but out of honesty. The aftermath was not easy. Society judged her harshly. Friends distanced themselves. The comfort she once enjoyed vanished quickly. Amara moved into a modest apartment and began rebuilding her life slowly, carefully. There were nights when regret overwhelmed her, not for leaving Victor, but for leaving Malik when love had still been possible. Some mistakes, she realized, come with lessons but no second chances. Malik heard about her separation through mutual acquaintances. He felt concern, but not hope. His life had moved forward, rooted in purpose and peace. When Amara reached out to him one final time, she did so without expectations. She did not ask for forgiveness or reunion. She only thanked him for loving her when she was unable to value it. They met once more, briefly, in a quiet cafe. Malik listened with kindness, but his eyes held closure, not longing. He told her that regret could be a teacher if she allowed it to be, but it should not become a prison. Their paths, he said gently, were no longer meant to merge. Amara understood. This time, acceptance did not break her, it freed her. Years later, Amara became a different kind of woman. Not wealthy, not admired, but grounded. She worked with organizations that supported young women from disadvantaged backgrounds, teaching them that worth should never be measured by money alone. Her story became her warning, her lesson, her redemption. Sometimes, late at night, she thought of the life she might have had if she had chosen love when it was offered freely. The thought no longer destroyed her. It humbled her. Fate had not punished her. It had educated her. And in that education, Amara learned the truth too many learned too late. Money can open doors, but only love makes a place feel like home. And when love is abandoned for comfort, the regret that follows is often far heavier than poverty ever was.